And we are okay. Welcome to Reality Check with Rishi again. It's Wednesday, and we'll focus on small business today. And we have Beyond Numbers Guru back today. This is the third or fourth time. We have Gary and Harvey, the dream team of Gary and Harvey. And we'll be talking a little bit about the stimulus package. We have phase 4 that was signed in the Senate, which is going to get signed hopefully tomorrow by President Trump. That's about 350 billion or so. And the last one, the phase 3, apparently didn't quite work very well because much of that funds went to some of the big corporations like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and not sure if they really needed the money because they are cash rich and they are profitable and they perhaps had good cash reserves. So we really need to help the mom and pop shops that are all over the country that do not have any business now. I was talking to one of the retailers and one of the restaurants, and he said that his business was down to like 5% compared to normal. And if you walk into that parking lot, you will drive into the parking lot, you will never ever find room to park. I mean, it was such an active, busy restaurant, and they're down to like 5-10% of their normal business, which is really unfortunate.
Yep.
So we need the help. We need to do what we can. And I'm glad that phase 4 will happen. And I'm pretty sure phase 5 and phase 6 will happen too.
Yeah, it is. I was reading someplace $1 trillion is needed to.
Yes, correct. So $2.3 trillion from phase 3. We have another, 350 billion, Gary? How much do we have?
320 today.
320, yes. 320, correct. I saw that yesterday and I was waiting for a new update.
It was 310 and then this morning I noticed it's 320.
Okay, good. So 320 but there's a lot more. My gut on this, Gary, is we need about 10, 15, 20 trillion dollars because it's going to impact, like I'm seeing a lot of economic reports that say, oh, don't worry, we'll be fine by Q3 or Q4.
I'm thinking it's going to be Q4 things going to start.
Okay. Yes. But Gary, I might differ with you on that. I believe that we are starting to go down now. And when will the bottom happen? I believe at least a year away, because the slide will happen. Once we open up the economy, things will start playing out. All the reserves that we have will have played out. And that's when the rubber will hit the road. Our supply chain has been disrupted forever.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of changes that'll happen. It's a new America. No more travel. I mean, who's going to travel?
Yeah.
The travel industry is going to go kaput. I mean, this is scary because nobody wants to travel. Employees will be unwilling to travel, and even the employers would be like, okay, let's try to figure out, if you have international trips, let's do Zoom meetings or whatever else. And so that's the new world that will play out, even after we get once we open up, when we open up America, even after that. And yesterday we had a very, very interesting town hall meeting with a bunch of healthcare professionals. And we were debating as to when we will get the economy back on track. When will we open it up? We considered lots of different options. We talked about test kits. We talked about the PCR kits. We talked about the antibodies testing. We talked about so many different things. And I was really trying to figure out, hone upon a roadmap because, in my mind, I would like to see some clarity in terms of how we can get through this. And somehow I was thinking that the antibodies test and the PCR test in combination would be good enough for us to get through. But what I discovered was the antibodies is apparently only, there is about a 70% efficiency with that. So it's like 20-30% of the people will still be carriers and they would still be infecting other people. And you might get the PCR test today, but you might get infected tomorrow. So what is the validity? So anyway, the long story short, there is no short answer. And then finally, one of the doctors basically said, look, Rishi, if everybody wears masks and they're taking precautions, then we might be able to do it. And America doesn't have a culture of wearing masks. We also talked about contact tracing and how difficult that is because people are so privacy conscious. So anyway, all that is, things that we're talking about, but let's focus on things that are of importance, which is money. and we need to get money into the hands of people. And there was a big group here in my community, and I was part of their discussion. I was watching all the chatter, and many of them applied for the loans, so the PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Program, because they were all CEOs of companies, and they ended up getting their money. You know, many of them got the money, so they were relatively happy that they do not have to lay off people; they can keep going, and so it's good. The stimulus package is definitely helping. We need a lot more. So let's introduce Gary and Harvey, the dream team. Glad to have you back. They run this accounting, tax, payroll. They are advisors for a long time. And Gary's from the world of tech. He morphed himself into a financial guru. And I truly speaking, I could never ever see that. Gary, I never thought that you would be in this business, but sounds like you have a complete flair for it. You know, the world of IT, you were very good at that. We were working together in IBM, but I see how good you are with your accounting knowledge and all the questions that you've answered in prior calls. So honored to have both Gary and Harvey, and on to you. So let's take it from here. I think, Gary, are you still on video?
I am on video.
Okay, good. Let's take it from here.
Great. Thanks for the kind introduction, Rishi. So, folk, being an accountant in my prior life, started with IT in the US and then had to go back because of the family situation. And I feel very blessed that I'm a tech-savvy accountant, and that's how I call myself. And with me is Harvey, my nephew, and he's a pure CPA. So we have a good team with a CPA background, and I am an FCA, Fellow Chartered Accountant, and MBA from US. I'm a CPA candidate, but working on it. But we'll continue doing this thing, and then we grow our firm and also help people. So from the last podcast, what was the call to action item? Coping with COVID, keep the business going. We got to keep the business going. And as an advisors, we have this obligation to help business keep going. And 4 points we considered was primarily was understand your financial position. So every customer I meet, I tell them, do you know where you are? And some are savvy, they know, yes, where we are. Some don't, okay. But our customers, we know their books, and we tell them where they are and what they need to do. And then one of the option was cut, reduce, keep. Basically find out expenses which need to be cut. Some can be kept, some can be reduced, and some are necessary events which expenses we need to keep, you keep it. And then apply for all these COVID stimulus packages. Come February, beginning of the 3rd February onward, it started, and the whole February has been busy for us. And then the 4th point is stay focused on the current situation and live by the day. And this is the mantra I've been following for the last 6 years after my wife's death. So going forward, why we exist, basically growth is very important, is only part of evidence of a life. Because any business I talk to them, what is your growth plan before COVID? People don't understand where they stand and where they want to go. So we have to probe them. And I'm seeing the same discussion happening in the IT world. We used to talk to the bigger corporation. The technology is changing. There is a regulations. New things are happening. Demographic is changing. How are you going to change? So we help them with business process management and integrated apps. Same thing is happening in the small business world as well. And on top of that, this pandemic came. This was complete monkey wrench into the life of the people. So here I urge that businesses, they need a strong partner who understands the situation and help them, and they can grow with our help and or with our guidance, they can continue growing. So folks, Beyond Number Guru is a tech savvy accounting firm. And we not only do accounting, taxes, payroll, etc. Along with that, we do process and profit consulting also, where we help people attain a profit and then automate things and then streamline their operations. So I'll let Harvey take over the COVID packages and introduce yourself, Harvey. Harvey? He may be on mute. Harvey, are you on mute? I'm going to text him. Harvey? Yeah, it looks like. Harvey, I can't hear you. Yeah, he's not muted. Looks like he'll be joining soon. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very different world.
Hello?
Hi, Harvey.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your charts are not showing.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay. So last week, in the last podcast, we talked about the different programs that are available to small business owners, which was the EIDL and the PPP. This time, I'm going to talk about some of the benefits for the individuals. So a lot of calls, I'm not really going to talk about the unemployment process for people
Harvey,
that are
would you mind please turning on your video?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes. So they
Thank
changed a couple of things in Zoom. They updated their system.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So you have to do a couple of things before it was just automatic. But anyway, is everything good now? You guys can hear
Yes,
me?
yes, perfect.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. So what I wanted to say was, I don't want to talk about the unemployment process for W-2 employees. I'm going to talk about what kind of things are available as far as the unemployment. I've been getting a lot of questions for people that are self-employed, Uber drivers, self-employed people, independent contractors. So what a lot of people did was they applied, which were self-employed people. They went through the same process as a W-2 employee and applied, a couple of weeks back when the pandemic started. So what the state guidance is now that they're coming up with a new system. It's called the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. So what they're doing is the state is developing the program and the web page, which should be live on the 28th. And once this website is live, anybody that's self-employed, independent contractors, anybody who's a business owner who doesn't apply, can't go through, unemployment like a W-2 employee, needs to apply through this website. So basically what they're saying is to qualify for the PAU, you must be a business owner, you must be self-employed, or you can be an independent contractor. Plus, you either must be a US citizen or are legally permitted to work in the United States. Further, you would have to certify once this website becomes available that either you've been affected in some way by the COVID-19, either like decreasing your business, you got sick, a family member got sick, or you had to take time off to take care of your kids who might have been sick, are some of the reasons. They're still coming out with this because this is a new program, and we should have some more guidance as the website becomes available, which is next Tuesday. So based on that, once this becomes, it should be a real easy process. So how are you going to apply once the website becomes available? You go to the website, you're going to log in, you're going to create an account just like you do as a W-2 employee. And then based on that, they'll have questionnaires is, please tell us how you've been affected, and you got self-certified that you're out of work. And based on that criteria, they will base what your payments will be. So what they're saying is right now, the limited information that's available on the unemployment website is that if you were unemployed from February 2nd to March 28th, you're gonna get 167 per week. For phase two, which is once the federal government part of the CARE Act, they provided additional $600 to the unemployment. So you're gonna get 167 plus 600, so a total of 767 during the period of if you were unemployed or were affected that resulted in not able to work from March 29th all the way to July 25th. So that doesn't mean that you automatically get the payments all of April, all of May, and all of June, and all of July, right? You have to log on to the website every 2 weeks, just like you would for a regular W-2 employee. And you got to certify that, look, I still can't find work, or my business is still down, and due to that, I need this unemployment. So that's going to be the process for that. And then after July 26th, the benefits fall again down to 167. So that was on the unemployment, the PAU program. So if you're self-employed, don't go on the website right now, the unemployment department, and file a claim. Wait until the 28th, and there should be a new web page, and based on that, just follow the instructions, or you can call us if you have any questions, and we can guide you through this once the website becomes available. Now on the individual packages, the stimulus checks, I'm just going to go over it a little bit briefly. It's $1,200 for single, $2,400 if you're married. There's income limits, $75,000 for single, $150K for married. The additional $500 credit is only for families with children 16 years old and younger. So if you have a child that's living and is a dependent, basically he's on your return, listed as a dependent, and he's 18 or 19 or 20, you will not get the additional $500 credit for them. That's also for any other dependent, including your parents. So if your parent lives with you and he's a dependent on your return, you will not also get the $500, and they will not qualify for the $1,200 or $2,400 themselves because they're not filing a return. So basically what you got to understand is if their kids 17, younger than 17, they will qualify for the additional $500 credit. If not, and they're listed as a dependent on your return, they will not qualify for that payment. If your income is higher than 75,000 for single, 150 for married, the credit goes down by 250 for every $5,000 of income over that limit. Another thing is there was confusion. Is this 2,400 going to be taxable? It isn't. It's not going to be a taxable income. The other thing is what happens if your 19 and 18 income was high, right? So basically what the government is doing, since they can't really determine what your 2020 income is going to be, they're basing the refund checks, the stimulus checks on 2019 or 18 income. So in that case, say your 18 and 19 was much higher, and then when you file your tax return in 2021, April 15, and your income falls below this threshold, the income limits, you will get that $1,200 or $2,400 credit on that tax return. So it's not like you lose it. And then if you have a new kid, say they were born in 2020, and they weren't, for 2020, you also get additional $500 credit when you file your 2020 tax return next year. If you're required to file taxes for 2018 and 19, the IRS is saying you need to file them. If you're not required to file them, such as like Social Security or people that just get supplement security income benefits, the IRS already has your information and they will just process a check based on that information. If you owe taxes, your stimulus checks will not be reduced by this. The only thing they're saying that will reduce that $2,400 or $1,200 amount is if you own back child support. So, and the other thing is a lot of people, if you're not already familiar with this, there's a link. You can go to the IRS website. If, for example, they don't have your bank information, you can update your bank information, but there's a lot of issues. It's just a miss for some people, and for some people it's working, for some others it's not. What my experience is telling me, anybody that has filed their 2020 tax return, it's preferably going to work for them. If you haven't filed your 2020 tax return or you filed the extension, it's not going to work for you. That's what my experience is with most of my clients. So some of the other things, the tax benefits, I already have said in my last podcast was the net operating loss, which was part of the biggest thing in the CARES Act, that you can take any losses 2018, 19, 20, because based with the new law that became effective in 2018, you were not able to carry back your losses. Now you are. So they have opened up the way that you can take losses you incur in this year, 2019, back up to 5 years. Also, there's another tax benefit for retirement funds. You can take up to $100,000 out of your IRA account without paying any penalty, and the tax on that $100,000 you can pay over the next 3 years. Another benefit they have done is employer for student loans. Usually, employer, they can contribute up to $5,200 towards students' education. But now what they have done is they have expanded it to making payments on student loans. So rather than before it was just limited to education fees, now it opens up $5,250, so the employer can make a $5,000 payment towards the student's loan. Some of the new updates we talked at the beginning. The Senate, they just passed the $484 billion relief additional funding. Waiting for the House to pass it. It includes $320 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program, $60 billion for community banks and smaller lenders. It provides $75 billion additional funding for hospitals, and $25 billion for testing, and $60 billion for the EDI loan, which is, a lot of people that applied for the 10,000 grant, they haven't been able to get it. This expands it. I think the initial amount was only 15 billion, and now they have 17 billion, I'm sorry. And now they have expanded that to 60 billion. So that's gonna allow a lot more people to get that $10,000 grant depending on the number of employees they have. We recommend that if you haven't already applied, that you please apply directly if you're applying for the Paycheck Protection Plan through your bank. If you're applying for the 10,000 grant, you need to do it as soon as possible, because the first money, it already ran out within 10 days. The statistics were the SBA, based on the SBA information, they're saying that there's 30 million small businesses in America, right? 350 billion was used within the first 10 days, and I think they were only able to provide that to the first 1.2 million businesses. So that means there's about 29 million businesses that didn't receive the help, any type of assistance, for the small businesses. And based on what I see, there's a lot of banks that have pending applications that are already approved. Chase Bank was saying they already have up to $27 billion in processed applications that they're waiting for funding. So I think once this bill gets approved by the House and gets signed by the president, that money will probably be gone before May 1st. That's kind of what my gut feeling is telling me, that this money is not going to be there. Like they were saying that this money is supposed to last until June. I don't even think it's going to last until the end of this month, the way things are going. So I'm just going to hand this to Gary, and he's going to talk about, some of the ways that business can keep going, and, what things they need to do to future-proof their business.
Thanks, Harvey. All right, folks. So keep business going. That's the theme which we are running. And in order to keep business going, we need to make the business profitable. And as I mentioned, who we are tech-savvy accountant. We do process, technology, cash flow, small to medium businesses. And cash flow is very near and dear to my heart since last October, when I was foreseeing a recession, and I started focusing on that, because cash is the fuel, cash is the king. Basically, healthy cash flow is the lifeline for any businesses. Without a proper cash flow, even promising ideas of firms will fail. And this is the reason why we are saying that cash flow is very important. And in my 4 years of doing this, I've seen some of the people, they do excellent profit, but they are cash flow rich because they're not managing it. But over the time, I taught them how to look at the numbers and how to use the money and all that. Now they are reaping the benefit. And in this, for the cash flow purposes, we're going to look at the 7 cash flow drivers, which are for every business the same. drivers are the things which we look into for cash flow perspective. And what we do is basically we automate things, we automate and then reduce the cost, and we provide guidance as to the cash flow so that they can run it properly and keep the business going. And so we do the BN Guru profit approach. There's a guy who started the profit method, Michael Mikolowitz, and I read his material and then I thought I'm going to subscribe to him. He was charging $1,000 a month. I said, why would I pay him? Because he's doing basically the same thing which grandmas used to do it, basically envelopes with different type money for different expenses. So same approach I'm using with businesses. Initially, people were not interested, but now they're realizing the importance. And so we help them create 3-4 accounts. One is a money coming in, coming out account. One is a payroll account, and one is a profit account. And then from the very beginning, we guide them. That's a regimen they have to build, and we help them build, and then they go with that. Or we can just use the plain cash flow solution, basically give them a budget, give them the sales planning tool, and then manage their cash flow. And then lastly, this is my forte from IBM and IT world, building industry solutions with accounting and tax software, and taking one or more of the 500 to 700 apps which have come over the last few years for different functions of the businesses, and integrate multiple apps and create a solution. This idea came into my mind 3 years ago when one customer, he has a recovery business, and he was basically losing money very badly and also was drowning in papers. And I looked at it after 3 months of his accounting. I said, Harry, if I can save you $9,000, would you be happy? He said, are you kidding? I said, I'm not kidding. I know what I'm saying. So what do you need? So I said, you give me your time one day and then few hours of other people. I interviewed them, and then I did an as-is process of onboarding the customers and then servicing the customer. They were recovery service business. People coming from drug addicts are coming and staying. And then using a software for property management, we combined the two and then brought in a CRM, all cloud-based apps, and then combined the three. He started saving almost $8,800. And he was such a happy camper, and he started giving me from $600, he started giving me $1,500. So this success forced me to think, no, I can do this for other businesses also. And in the US, I've noticed that maybe a handful of accountants are doing this thing. And at least in the Northern California, I've not seen anybody doing this. Especially in East Coast, there are 2 accountants, and those are all Xero advisors. And I worked with Xero for 1.5 years, and I was part of their culture. So I'm bringing this and helping customers as well. So basically, what we do is we analyze the current situation and implement one or more approach, whichever is applicable, and then use necessary apps, and then give you a budget. Will give you the KPIs for the different industries. These are the things which we used to do for the bigger companies. I'm doing the same thing for the smaller companies. And then sales planning tool. Tomorrow, Friday, I've committed to a new e-commerce customer to give her a 13-week cash flow for the e-commerce Amazon seller. And then with that, and then also sales planning, because their sales has also dropped, particularly coming from the UK. And now Germany is opening up, so that'll help their business. And the US has also gone down. So helping them with basically whatever tools we have in our arsenal. Next slide, please. So one thing I would like to say, profitability versus cash flowability. This is the example I gave of the person an auto business customer who had excellent profit, but never understood that where is my money going. So I had to show him the cash flow and liquidity. Cash flow is upstream. Total liquidity is needed for the businesses, a certain percentage of it. So we say success is not only revenue minus expense, profitability. You need to understand how money is coming in and what money is going out. And then where there are 2 types of cash flows, the direct cash flow and indirect cash flow. So whichever is appropriate, I make them understand. And from cash flow perspective, these are the 7 cash flow drivers: sales growth and gross margin. Sales growth, for example, a fourth or the fifth customer of mine, a management company, they're doing consulting for bigger corporations. And then I noticed her that she's making sale, but profit is not increasing. Then I said, Beena, do you know your prices? And when did you change your prices? He said, it has been forever. But the cost of the service providers, which did their work, their cost increased. So obviously things going down. So I took extra time and I built a profit portfolio, basically a product portfolio with all the SKUs, the different types of consulting they provide, different things, and then pricing for different tiers, and then gave it to them to look at the price. And then once she looked and gave the numbers of the cost, and when she looked at it, oh my God, I've been losing money. So these kind of things are necessary, who has a mind to helping the client. And gross margin is very, very important, because some of the customers, when they price their product, they don't have a better understanding of the gross margin. So which is basically like the gross profit, because the higher the gross profit, the higher the net profit you will have it. And then the selling and distribution expenses, which people have. So most of them are fixed expenses, but especially in the Bay Area, I've noticed that if a customer's rent is more than 10%, they will suffer in the long run, because the rent keep increasing. Beyond 10%, they would either have to increase the sale or they have to reduce the cost. And then there is a standard AR and AP, basically managing the AR. One trucking company, they failing miserably. I help them with their AR management. A logistics company, every week we give them the AR report and how 90,000 money sitting in with the customers, but they are struggling for cash. So this trucking company introduced them to the freight forwarder. People charge 3% and then they get the money. Same thing for accounts payable. Your vendors, now you have to give them a high volume. You can negotiate discount with them. Inventory, you have to be more in just-in-time inventory so that your inventory turnover is higher. Capital expenditure. There's one school of thought which thinks we have a bank balance accounting. People, some businesses who don't look at the books, look in the bank, they have a big cash, they will purchase a bigger equipment or something without realizing that they have to pay to the other vendors also. So all these things have to be taken into account, and when we do cash flow working, we go with them, each of those steps, and then help them. And then of course there are industry management software for time management, labor management, calculation. For example, a customer of ours, they have 3-4 gas stations, and I've been telling them they've been writing checks for about 18-20 employees every 2 weeks, and also time calculating the paychecks basically from the the time slots, and then they're writing it. And then I said, I won't accept, put it me in a sheet and then give it to me. And then I've been telling over almost a year now, but now they have took a system, a U-attend, where people have a biometric, basically they thumbprint, and then automatically they are going out, the hours are calculated, and she can give report directly from there. Or another customer have given me access to U-attend. And now I'm telling her, along with this, why don't you do an automated checking payment? I said, how do you do that? So we asked them to give their the digital signature. We will put it in the payroll software, and when they print the checks, automatically digital signed is going to come, print the checks, and then give it, rather than handwriting each of the checks. We're saving a lot of time for these people, and people are realizing this is the value which we bring. And then also we talk about for some of the auto stores, what is their parts margin, what is the labor productivity ratio, because these people didn't even know what is the labor productivity ratio. And for some customers who have cash flow is tight, we do the scenario planning and then try to improve their efficiency. Basically, we look at how we're going to be improving efficiency by automation is one of them, and then document collections, etc. Cash flow insights, look at whether they have money to do the capital expenditure, how is the money tied up in the AR, are they getting discounts? So we have to look at the cash flow insight, we look at, and then we point them to act on those. And then the cash flow actions, primarily when they have low in cash, then go into the tight budget format. We give them the budget, and and when the money is flush, then they don't spend the money, put something in the reserve for future, because this is something an accountant is, when they taught accounting, they've been bred in them, they need to have a reserve. So we help them do those things, and then cash flow actions with which we help these guys. Next slide, please. And so again, from the drivers, how do we keep this business going? We need to make them understand that cash flow ability or liquidity is very important, and then go over some of the pain points which we have seen in this day and age. Working capital and reserves is a problem area which I'm noticing, and people don't have enough reserves and not enough working capital. Anybody who comes and talks to me, I want to start a business, I tell them 6 months of working capital expenses you keep in the bank, and then you start this business. And nowadays I would say maybe a year and a half, because it's a very tough market. And then the labor productivity, we give them the standards from the industry, and then help them achieve those. And then from customer retention perspective, what are the criteria? These are things which are more applicable in the IT world, but I've learned those tricks, and then using these with the small businesses also. And then bill payment, utilizing discount, which I talked about earlier. Cash flow, basically cash overages and shortages. One auto store was constantly doing shortage, and then I spoke to the management, and then we charged it to the manager who was managing it. And then his pay was being cut, because, and then we noticed that cash flow started being correct. Then also not paying to the attention to the expenses. I myself I'm a culprit in my personal life. I've noticed that I've been focusing on the customer, on my personal expenses. I was not paying much attention. So since 2 weeks, I've been paying more attention, and I'm cutting things which are useless. I've been subscribing, but never using those things. So you have to, especially in this uncertainty time where the cash flow is very critical. From AR perspective, in the auto business, there's a fleet money tied up with people on the credit. They never pay back. And then in the logistics world also, there are 90 days, some of them. And so this customer started business, and I came with him. He hired me when he started the business. So from the very beginning, helped him write his terms. If you're not going to pay more than 30 days, we'll charge you 1.5% or so, and so on. So all these best practices. So idea is basically to understand the problem, understand the situation where they are, and get the binding from them where they want to go, and then do an assessment and prepare an as is and to be. Hint, hint, Rishi bhai, this is a BPM, as is and to be processes. So I'm doing the same thing with smaller businesses now. Any questions, anybody?
Next slide.
So far, so good. Okay, next slide. All right, so from a cash flow perspective, for keeping the business going, we do cash flow advisory. The idea is to make your business from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine. This is something I read in a book for e-commerce support and construction support. So basically make shelf you have enough profit so that you can pay yourself, pay the taxes, and pay the debt, because debt is very important. You have to pay the debt also. And from that perspective, I like to point the profit approach. In the accounting world, people say revenue minus expense is equal to the profit, and that's what everybody understands. But we have to make them understand that revenue, just split the thing. Put the profit, revenue minus profit is equal to expenses. Just in this equation, splitted those parameters. And what I say, people, you are responsible for the revenue. You are responsible for the expense if you want to earn 20% profit. So it's 80% will be your cost and 100 will be your revenue. So you have 2 areas to work on, then you will be able to achieve the 20%. And that's what we help them achieve the profitability. And along with the profitability, 23% has to be paid to the debt. So debt payment is key. Otherwise, they're going to be slapped interest and a lot more other things. We use this profit approach, or we use the standard cash flow approach, which we give them budgets and so on. So, and this day and age, in the post-pandemic or in COVID pandemic, this is a key, and I'm realizing I'm glad I started this earlier, and with Harvey we are helping our customers. And since after last call session, a guy called, and then he was exactly facing, and I'm talking to him how we can help him. Next slides. So from the process perspective, profit and process, these are the key areas which we want to focus on. We look at, now we know, for example, I mentioned about that recovery service customer. Other customers, we look at their, for example, in Texas, we had another school, Montessori school coming in, and they were doing accounting, bookkeeping from a third party, and they were not happy. And then when they spoke to us, we talked about the school system as well, the operation management system for the school. So we selected a sandbox software for school management for Montessori and the daycare system. And basically that particular, and using with Zero, we integrated, and then they are very happy with their the things, and they can control it, and they have full visibility on how things are going. So in order to do that, we try to, we look at your business health, we look at the business books, and then we can analyze the books and see where are the areas that need help, what are the long term and short term goal, basically where you are or where you want to go. This is the construction company which hired us, our first construction company they hired, because we approached it this way and didn't talk about accounting. We just talked about where you are and where you want to go, and how we will help you, not only with accounting, but with system and processes also. And then what are the cash flow pain points you have, number of employees, because some of them I've noticed that they are management heavy. Management is spending a lot of money on itself and draining itself because they didn't realize it. So we have to point, somebody has to point, and we are perfect position as an objective advisor, we can help them. And then many of the customers are they technologically proficient? Do they understand technology? So some of them we tried, and I said, there's not a candidate, but we approached them a little differently. But who are in the Bay Area, most people understand technology, and then they're receptive to this idea. So the idea is basically create an as-is process based on it, and then, for example, a order to cash, this same thing which we did in the bigger world, now same thing in the small businesses, a onboarding, managing of the employees, and construction management. How are they collecting the customers' requirements, and how are customers, they sending them the pictures of the progress through a construction management software, and Montessori school management, and etc. And after as is, we do a streamlined one with not only the software, with all the different steps or activities which were duplicate, handoffs, standard thing, and we do help them gain efficiency and then help them reduce cost. This is how I was able to help Harry reduce $8,800 savings, because he was able to cut 1.5 employees, and then a lot of automated stuff came into the picture. And we do this both with Zero and QuickBook Online, because these are competing platform, and we living in the US, we cannot fight with the king. QuickBook is the king in the US. And so we use both softwares.
So Gary, this is such an impressive story. You know, I mean, what you learn in IBM, you're applying it daily into your accounting principles, and you're helping customers and creating efficiencies that is saving money. I mean, that's a fabulous story. And now you discovered a new practice, and now it has become a huge component of how you're hitting your revenue models, right?
Right. And that's what I'm telling Harvey, that accounting is now a commodity. Everybody does bookkeeping. Accounting is a commodity. How you have to differentiate is through process and profit, and then advisory service with like COVID and any other support which we can provide. We will be their go-to guy. And then I'm noticing people are calling left and right because we are their go-to guy now. And I feel very blessed. And the idea is to improve and grow our practice with this. And then once then I focus more with work with you going forward.
Yes. Of course.
All right. So next slide. This is our process advisory. So basically, researchers said in 10 years, only 34% of the companies make to the first 10 years. Do you want to be in that 10 years? Work with us, and then we will help you start with the best practices, best foot forward. Look at your, guide you. Okay, you need 9 months of reserves, working capital in the reserve, and help you with all the different analysis of the different industry standard ratios and also giving you the budget from the very beginning, and so that your money is not tied. Because for AR perspective, accounts receivable, this lady, I helped her using a debtor daddy. There's a software which does automated chasing of the AR. New Zealand, from a New Zealand software, because I worked for this company from New Zealand, and then use that software, debtor daddy. And then another company, we are using a collection management tool in the US with Xero, that is integrated, and they take the money which is owed to this company, and then automatically it sends to the collection management, and the collection management, they have a certain percentage and they try to collect the money for them. So there are tools there and people don't know, and I feel blessed. I know all those tools. And just a history, how I learned about this. In Xero, I was hired. My job was primarily a partner enablement manager, where I had people, accountants under me, and then we were modernizing the practice of the CPAs and bookkeepers. And then while I was doing that, the founder in the US, he said, "Hey, Gary, you are a tech savvy. Why don't you come join my team?" And then my role was to modernize the tool which was used from QuickBook to Xero conversion. And also there was a subgroup, and we helped create the Xero app playbook, basically the different apps for the different industries, different business functions. So we were initially designing that, and then identifying, doing a lot of research, and then we helped create that book, and that has helped, and I'm leveraging that to help our customers. So it is a good story, but people have to understand that. And I'm telling Harvey, we need to give our name. People don't know that there are people who are doing this here. So this is what we need, some help also. All right, next slide, please. Okay, let's look at the individual 4 industries which we work on. For a construction and tradies in the New Zealand, they call it the tradies, tradesmen, the plumber, the electrician, and then we help them, basically field servicemen people. So we have software, for example, a big construction company, we are using Builder Trend, and that is helping them manage their efficiently. There is a Jobber application, small application footprint for field service management for plumbers, electricians, where they don't have to write and then use the credit card. Automatically using the phone, they can bill the invoice and then automatically get paid there. In the construction industry, they have this concept of feast or famine. And we have seen firsthand with our first construction company, they had 100,000 plus 100 plus thousand in the bank, and in the 3 months, they had $25 in the bank because they are not properly managing the money. And so we help them manage them, give them a budget, and then a sales forecasting tool. Basically, the idea is to using from, we have a playbook for different industries, and there's a playbook for cash flow advisory for improving efficiency, giving them the cash flow insight, and then giving them a plan. Until and unless you're giving them action item, people won't act on it. So these guys are realizing our value, but they had some other problem occurred, and this was something, a hack, almost $1 million was taken out from their account. But they got the money back, and now they are retooling it, basically. So working with the construction and tradesmen. Next slide, about, I think it is, yeah, e-commerce. This is my favorite one, because I ventured into the e-commerce accounting about 4 years ago when I started. Somebody found me, and then and I started helping. I learned about e-commerce, basically e-commerce seller, and then Shopify also came into later. And now with e-commerce customer, they're using FBA by Amazon and Shopify, and we help them in an automated way. How we do it, basically we have Zero or QBO is the platform for accounting. And then Amazon sellers is a huge platform which they use for all the different sellers. From there, the data is automatically collected by an A2X software, which I subscribe to it, and then takes it and then it sends to my Zero and the QBO. And that helps. Otherwise, it would be a nightmare to run the business, and people, they didn't know how much is their settlement, how much is the order worth, how much is the refund, how much is the FBA fees. All that thing is automatically done by A2X. And then for taxes purpose, Taxify is another online software which is integrated. It tells how much sales tax to each state has to be paid now, because in the e-commerce world, you have to pay sales tax to. And then some people who want inventory, we have very few, most of them have smaller inventory, but for a little bigger inventory, there are inventory apps also, Fishbowl and others, which you can use, and you can do an automated streamlined business operation. Basically, this is the common theme for everybody: automated streamlined business operation, resulting in increased saving, increasing bottom line, and owners having more time for business and their family. And for these Amazon businesses, what I'm thinking now, I have in my mind, and I'll create a dashboard so they don't have to look into Zero or into Amazon. The dashboard will pull data from Zero and from Amazon, and then give them a dashboard of a financial dashboard and an operation dashboard using a Google dashboard, Google software. I'm thinking about using it probably, and that will be one of my projects when I have some time, a little bit. And then we give them a 13-week budget for e-commerce, specifically e-commerce, because I know what are their revenue sources and what are their expenses. Amazon fee, restocking fees. Amazon have multiple. They have basically what I learned is Amazon charges 33.3 to 40% of the cost of the revenue goes to Amazon, and they have to and then help them understand the numbers. And the people, some of the customers, they are very thankful because they found us and we are helping them. And then of course, using the profit approach or the cash flow approach to help them with their cash flow. Next one. So these are the specific solutions we already have. And then we bumped into a Montessori and daycare solution in a local guy. Probably you know him, Rajesh Gupta, Rishi. So his wife runs a Montessori here in Fremont, and they came to us beginning of 2018. And then they talked to them, and they started using kids kiosk. And using kids kiosk, they are running the operations of the business, and then we with Zero we do the accounting. And the one in the Dallas, we use the sandbox with them. Basically, for Montessori school customers, how do they want the kids signing in, signing out, and how are they going to automatically invoicing in, collecting the payment, generating report, and then also the schedule of the teachers in the class, which teacher in which class. All this is automatically done by the software, and there are software doing that. And
very nice.
Pardon?
Very nice.
This is a blessing and helping people. So basically, this is the same theme I'm applying to all. Basically, you can do automated, streamlined business operation, cost saving, bottom line, owners having time, and then the budgeting, and then the cash flow. And then we also do proactive tax planning also. Because tax perspective, I am about to get my EA certification. Harvey is also a CPA. So we are going to be doing proactive, and I took a course to become a tax coach for planning purposes, and learned some of the tricks which President Trump uses, have been using it for over the years. And I worked with some of the high net worth people in the Bay Area, husband, wife, both earning close to 600,000, how help them reduce their taxes. So we use those. And then we also help with the representation. When somebody gets an IRS notice, people get nervous. I said, don't have to get nervous. Just call us, we'll handle it for you. And Harvey and we are doing this as well now. Okay, next one. One more. Okay, now another favorite of mine is the professional services and startups. So these people who are starting a company, startup, they need a part-time CFO or part-time financial controller. So we help them, and there are tools for expense management. Expensify is there, or spend management. There are tools for automatic time tracking, automatic invoicing, automatic payment collection. So consulting company, they have, and then they need all these kind of features. And there are software which totally integrated with Xero and QBO, and we help them manage their businesses. And if they need cash flow, we have those the 13-week budget, and then also the go cash flow approach. So this, when I label this under professional services, a therapist, agencies, consulting, law firm, we have a law firm and we use Clio. Clio is a software for the law firm management. And then Clio and Xero integrated, and then the guy is just managing their business very nicely. And then for the gig economy people, freelancers, we have a solution of $100 a month where we give them a app for tracking their mileage, and then an app, a Xero app for tracking their expenses. So end of the year, they have a fully taxable accountant who will do their taxes and then their books. They don't have to fret about it. Everything is managed for them. So these are the few things which we are doing. And then along with taxes, payroll, we do payroll as well. And then we never done certified payroll, but the construction company said they are doing certified payroll. So we had to learn. And then we started doing those. So many things we are learning, and we updating ourselves and going forward. Next slide. So, and then this is, we ultimately, I say we are a solutions company. Just like Senator Warren said, I have the plan for,
yes.
And same thing we call, there's an app for that, app for everything. Same thing, there's a solution for every problem. And for example, I've listed some of the industries which we have customers in this: auto repair, body shops, we help them doing all those sales tax, payroll, and all that, and then giving them guidance. Truckers, logistics companies, we help them. For example, the first company, logistics company came, they needed to manage their projects. So they were getting projects. So Xero built up a sub-component called projects. So I said, okay, why don't you use this? So they start tracking the time and material for that. And same thing can be used by the consulting companies. And then there are gas stations, convenience stores, liquor store. This is a standard. Punjabis are in this area, so they flock to us. And the convenience store, gas station, we help them with the time management and automation in the check payment perspective. There are hotels, and then restaurant, cafe. This is Harvey's. He has expertise in the hospitality management. And then we learned about franchise operations. Like if you have a franchise, and how do you consolidate operations from everywhere? So these franchise operations help them as well. We have software which will consolidate from all the different franchise, and we have outsourced CFO and controller services as well. I think we are running out of time. Last one, I believe. So basically the takeaway again is to implement industry approach or the cash flow, because it's very important in this day and age. Achieve a reasonable profit for yourself. Of course, you have to pay payroll and taxes. You have to pay debt. And then of course you take some key healthy pay home also your profit. And how to contact is our contact number. And we do a 45 minutes of complementary need analysis and also consultation if somebody needs some help with. So this is in short, our play and helping people, especially in this day and age, is very important. Guiding with the right resources, and Harvey is helping, doing a lot of research on the COVID thing, and then we are combining and helping them.
Good. Nicely done, Gary. Very nice. And it's good to have Gary and Harvey back. And Gary, the $320 billion, we should offer something for our folks, and we would love to broadcast it extensively.
Right.
And so that's the next presentation. And, you know, just like the last one, we ran out of money quickly. So I would like to see how we can invite small businesses for a very special briefing. you let me know when you want to do it. We could even
Sure.
do it as soon as Friday. Soon as it's signed tomorrow, we can do it Friday, and you just let me know when. But you will need to prepare a deck and all that, and we can even do it on the weekend. And we will broadcast it extensively to invite a lot of people for that one. So let's do that. You pick a date and time which will work well, because you don't want the money to run out, right? So
Right,
you
right.
want
No, we
to apply.
have 3 people, in one never got it, and one got it, and one only got the EIDL money, and then we'll get the PPP money also. So
Okay.
I know 2-3 people which I can call them, and the same format. We won't prepare many slides, but we'll have 3-4 slides, but more talking and explaining things.
Well, I
Correct.
think I'd be surprised if the money lasts until the end of this month, to be honest. Because they have so many pending applications that already have been approved or are about to get approved, that these people have already applied last week. So it's going to be the first money they already ran in 10 days. And I think they helped only 1.2 million businesses. There's 30 million businesses. So I think this money is not even going to get it down to like 20%. It's going to be roughly about 10 to 15% of the small businesses are going to get any help with this money. So we'll see. There's a lot of big corporations that are going to refund the money. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yes, hopefully.
We
Hopefully.
only
And
heard Shake Shack returned 10 million. That's all they returned, and nobody else.
Yeah, but there's so many millions of businesses. I think if you look at the numbers, if there's say 30 million businesses and 10% is roughly 3 million, that means we're not even going to hit 10% of the small businesses. Because right now, I think they're only processed about 1.2 million small businesses.
Good points, Harvey. But what we need to do is we need to allow the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, to get into the system, and they need to apply, because this new loan is going to be catered to them. So we will invite them extensively. We will broadcast it. So let me know, Gary, when you want to do this. We don't have to wait till next Wednesday. We can do it sooner, or we can do it just next Wednesday if you like. Just let me know, and that's the next presentation we'll have from this team.
Sure.
I really appreciate all of you for taking the time, and it was a really good information. Lots of great insights in terms of how businesses can save money. So good stuff, Gary and Harvey, and I really appreciate all of you joining in. So enjoy the rest of the evening.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Ethan and Somnath.
Thank you, sir.